Hello and welcome to Zak's Traders Cafe. Today I'm joined by Andrea Cattaneo, who is CEO at Zenith Energy. How are you today, Andrea?
Not bad, thank you.
We haven't spoken for a couple of months, and so I'm sure many in the market, many shareholders are wondering what's going on. Could you give us a bit of info?
Yes, the basic info is that we are working 24/7 in this big battle of the three arbitrations. Because let's remember that the first arbitration is finished as an award, but now there is the activity of enforcement. And then the second arbitration has been heard on the 26th of February 2025, and we are waiting the sentence. And then the big work at the moment is in preparing the third arbitration, the one in Washington, the exceed. So there is an enormous amount of work for the next months and months. But in the middle of this commitment, we are as well very much active in creating a new industrial portfolio of Zenith, which substitute the one that has been in part robbed by the Tunisians, and so that has caused the damages and then, as a consequence, the claims. So we want to have a robust activity to be, as we have been always, an energy producer.
And so let's say this time next year, everything is finished, all the arbitration's done, all the claims are done, and enforcement is done. What will Zenith Energy look like at that time?
Well, it will be either a very cash-rich company or nevertheless already a very asset-rich company, because, as you know, the award forms an executory paper, so a receivable, an asset in the portfolio and the balance sheet of a PLC.
And the recent news has been regarding, I suppose, on the renewable side. Are you focusing on that more than anything else?
Yes, we are definitely selecting as the priority and the nearly unique focus of our acquisition the solar activity to start with in the field of renewable. The reason are various. The first is that in the oil and gas sector, the assets lie in remote countries. And these remote countries may as well present accidents like the one we suffered in Tunisia. When instead the renewable are in many countries, but many of them as well, they are countries with the respect of law, countries that are part of the European Union or of other stable jurisdiction, and so then we want to buy asset in a solid legal ground. The second advantage of the renewable is that the negotiation with the government are of total different type. There is, of course, an environmental protection law, there are approval, but it's just a question of being able to make a project and not a complicated governmental negotiation with things that are very remote, like exploration, or even production, with a lot of investment for a number of years in a very unstable world, with a lot of wars going around and a lot of problems about the transportation of oil. For example, the present war may delay the use of the main channel between Europe and Asia, Suez and Hormuz. And so all these complications should not, in my opinion, appeal to investors. When instead the production of electrical energy is something that is clearly in demand everywhere, is clearly with the empathy of everybody, and what is more important, everybody desire, like possibly this summer in UK, to make electricity out of renewable rather than gas.
Is it also the case that there are some investors who don't like fossil fuels, but they do like renewable energy, and so you'll have both parts of that sort of ideal covered? So the people who like fossil fuels, they'll like you, and the people who like renewable, they'll like you too. So you're sort of hedged in terms of market perception.
You are absolutely right. I think with the empathy of the fact that we have been damaged and sequestrated, so we have victims, and there is an empathy for the victim, especially if the victim can get back 600 million American dollars. And then as well the empathy that we are producing clean energy from solar origin. This proves the result of our stock price, which shows the confidence and the empathy that the investors have for us.
And in terms of the solar, how much interest is there from governments and other bodies in terms of getting those projects over the line?
Well, as well, all the times when we speak about energy, is a very contradictory environment, very complicated, and with different ideas in different countries. But the country that we have selected to start with, where we were already producing electricity, so having a knowledge and understanding of the mechanism of selling electricity, which is much more complicated than selling oil, is Italy. And so in Italy there is a favorable system toward solar, photovoltaic is called down there, and then we should say that with all the complication that any bureaucracy offer, we are able to plan to reach the 20 mega, that is our target portfolio for 2025, in advance in respect of the end of the year. So that sensation that we have, that we are in progress to reach this target in advance of the end of the year is very important. Demonstrate Zenith industrial ability to learn and adapt from oil and gas, which is a total different technology, to electricity, thanks to our little experience in Italy for 10 years. And second, the fact that we are, as we always been, quite active negotiator, and we are able to buy things at appropriate prices, building a sizable portfolio. 20 mega is already a portfolio that is respected even by medium company in the sector. We are a total newcomer. And the fact that we are arriving to this 20 mega before the end of the year is another important point to raise to the attention of our shareholders.
Does it help that you might have greater local knowledge about Italy than others?
Well, I have lived most of my time of my life outside Italy, but certainly I'm Italian and I know Italy and I understand the difference between various parts of Italy, which are confirmed as well by nature. The irradiation, solar irradiation of Bosen, north of Venice, is 40% less than the solar irradiation in Sicily, which is quite dramatic statistics that not everybody would have thought of. So it's a very diverse country in solar irradiation, in behavior of locals, and we are very pleased to have a widespread portfolio.
And finally, I mean, we are, you mentioned the arbitration at the moment. You've got three situations going on there in different stages. There might be some observers of your company who just sort of say, well, you can do all your solar energy and your renewables, but actually, when are we going to see the money for Tunisia?
Well, you see, the money from Tunisia is coming in bits and pieces or at once. It's still unclear if we will make a settlement or not, is in the mind of God. But we should say that we should be enthusiastic about the money they will get, which I remind to everybody is not a lottery. It's just a fact that we have been robbed, and there are mechanisms in international justice, the arbitration, which permit to recover sometimes more than what we have been hit with, because, in the meantime, 5 years have passed. So the joy and the struggle that we have gone through, family that have been destroyed by the action of the Tunisian. Let's remember that we had many employees and many managers, in excess of 150. All these people have been disbanded, they lost their job, they have a stigma because they are friends of Zenith. So all these things have a price that we hope the justice of arbitration will compensate. But at the same time, the solar activity is very profitable. Just to give you an idea, each of these 20 mega, when is in production, so after the completion of the year and the completion of the work, because we have bought everything in early development or in semi-development, nothing ready just in production, because we'll be a waste of profitability just to buy something, the ready-made product, will produce 1 million mega or more per annum, $1 million or more per annum. So that compares that we will have then 20 million of gross income. Then we have to have the expenses that are, which are normally minor in a solar activity and will be contained by us with our knowledge of how to monitor local behavior with people like gardeners and maintenance not taking a toll on us. But this is per annum. So we are speaking about making a bit of money by our new division. Of course, the attraction for the investors remain the big pot of 642 million that we are supposed to receive from our 3 arbitration.
But let's say, even on its own, the solar part, you think that would be a substantial business, and you're not sort of just, you don't have all your money on red or black. You do actually have a sort of a rounded company.
A company similar to us, as which of course I will not name, listed in Scandinavia, has reached a market cap of $200 million, making a series of acquisitions. Then something went wrong. The company has not been anymore the same market cap, but only in what we are doing is possible to reach the market cap we have today without the arbitration. Then we have as well the income coming from the arbitration, which will be a work for the next 2-3 years, but the two things go in parallel. In a way, we have two pillars of the attraction of Zenith stock.
And would you go harder into the solar when the money arrives from Tunisia?
Yes, we should not, I can say, discourage some investors think that we will gain the money and then we will lose it in some investment, which is something that happens in life. When somebody make a great success, then become more lenient and less alert, and then lose what he has gained. So we will be very careful. And as you know, we are strongly intended to make a distribution of some money to our investors that accompanied us as a whole for the last 10 years in this journey in oil and gas, and now arbitration and renewable. But certainly now we have a business that is very intense, electricity. Electricity shows today enormous contradiction, the fact that the renewable are a great plus, but as well a threat to the flow of electricity. The grid don't know so well how to deal with the new multi-center production of electricity. The case of Spain and Portugal is a proof. The big accident of 2 months ago is a proof of this requirement of new technology. There is the arrival of batteries to have electricity made in cheap hours of the day when there is the sun shining, then to be sold at a much higher price in the evening. There is a very interesting world to understand, learn, and to make money out of it.
Well, we look forward to learning more. In the meantime, Andrea Cattaneo, CEO at Zenith Energy, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.